Hello there, Insta family. I'm out of breath. I've been rushing around trying to get on here. We're going live today with Lila Lolling from Hudson Valley near New York State. So I'm just going to wait to find out to get her on here. And then we're going to chat about her amazing EcoYogaLife project and her philosophy module on our 200-hour teacher training. We're also going to talk about how we met, and we're going to goof around, no doubt. And we'll also be talking about her nervous system yoga therapy module on our advanced teacher training, our 300-hour. So I'm going to see if I can invite her now. Bear with me, listeners, watchers. We'll see if she's coming. She's just about to come, and I will see if I can get Lila. Lila. There we go. We're up here. And do feel free, guys, to comment or message me, even if you see this on the IGTV later. If you're interested in more details about anything, then we can work on that. We can answer questions as we go along, and we can also answer questions after the event. So let's just see if she's coming. Let's see. Lila. Oh, look, here she is.
Hello, darling.
Hello, darling. How are you?
I'm very good. How are you doing this morning? I got your a memo about wearing the brand colors.
That is not what I said. I'm glad you got black colors on. Oh, it's so nice to see you. And I was just doing this crazy monologue because I didn't know how long it was going to take for you to come. So I was like, every la la la. Anyway, you're here, and Dan Shearer is also here. So hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
Nice to meet you. Do you know Dan?
I do.
Okay, good. Well, he is here, so we're gonna just give him a little wave there. There we go. So, Lila Lolling, where are you? How are you? And what time is it in your country?
Oh, well, I am in New York, and in the Hudson Valley, which is 90 minutes just north of the city, up the river, and out in the beautiful Catskill Mountains. And it is 10 a.m. here. And you're in Bristol, UK.
I'm in Bristol, UK, and it is 3 in the afternoon here, and it is sunny, and we have some showers, which is usual for, spring in England. Oh, well, thank you so much. Someone else has just come here, George Louis. He's just joined, so hi there. I have got you on here, Lila, because I am fascinated by your work. I love you very much. We met 21 years ago when I was doing my yoga teacher training in an ashram in Canada. And Lila just recently completed her training and was then working as staff on the ashram. And we goofed around and made friends. And here we are 21 years later, still doing the yoga stuff, even amidst many problems with the yoga community and yoga in general. We're still here doing our thing, and hopefully we will carry on doing our thing forever. Yes. So I wanted to, yes, please, let's just keep doing what we do. So I wanted to speak about 3 things with you today, Lila. And the first one is about your amazing EcoYogaLife, your philosophy about yoga and ecology, if that's the right word, yoga and saving the world, saving the planet, and how the two go together. I remember once you said to me, if everyone who was practicing yoga in the world actually gave a shit about the world, we wouldn't be in this position. So it'll be really good to hear EcoYogaLife. And then we can talk about your yoga philosophy training. So tell me about EcoYoga.
Thank you. Well, as Steph said, we met 21 years ago at the ashram and have been little ashram sisters ever since, or I would say more like lineage sisters ever since. And one of the things that I have done over the years of 20 years is teach yoga philosophy to yoga teachers and use it as a way to bring into everyday life. Like, I'm a householder, I live, you know, in the big ashram, as we might refer to it. And I feel like the yoga philosophy is incredibly important to use as a framework to interpret our experience in the world. If we do that and align ourselves to the ancient yoga teachings, what happens is we find more peace, more resiliency, more health, more vitality. We tune in and tap into that essence of us that's sovereign, that can make decisions for ourselves. We can impact the whole and the collective. And so in the recent years, I've been really focused on climate science and the climate crisis that we're having and experiencing. And I'm such a newbie to this arena because, quite frankly, I'd been an environmentalist for years. And then more and more and more as we got into the climate science, I was like, holy moly, like, this is a real big issue that we have. And we have to do something. And to me, you know, we've always heard of the ashrams, you've heard it too. You know, the yoga teachings were handed down for this moment in time. I mean, the great seers saw the crisis that we would be having on a personal level, on a planetary level. And so they, you know, wrote the scriptures in shorthand as fast as they could, as best to their abilities, to leave us the Vedas and these ancient texts. And so within them is this coding on how to, like, bring harmony and stabilization, not only of the climates, but also of our weather patterns and of our mind, because we learned that the collective mind is related to a lot of the elements. And we can see that there's, you know, this ability for yoga practitioners and studios to be really available for what's happening within the climate crisis and to do our part. And so I've joined forces and hands and hearts with two other beautiful, amazing humans. Liz Sita Dunn, who I met, is she lives in Long Beach, New York, and she actually also was a lineage sister, and I met her at the ashram. And then Eric Phillips Nania of Climate Change Yoga wrote a book called Climate Change Yoga. He's a climate scientist, more specifically. I don't know that's his exact title, but he's a yoga practitioner and everything. And he brought a lot of awareness to my perspective about this. And so the three of us have now a channel and an app. And this next week, we launch our fundraiser for this. I'm so excited. But we have an app with 215 people in it right now. And we're doing things that are a part of what can help reverse the climate crisis. And so we have these tougher discussions. And at the same time, we do things as a collective, like little challenges. It is just launching. So all of this is in the planning stages. But there's 200 of us there. So we welcome you to join us at EcoYogaLife.com. And the channel is EcoYogaLife.tv. And and you'll be seeing Steph there too. So she's there in the app.
I will definitely get involved. So I just want to say hi to Yoga Every Hour that joined, and to Karina. So Karina was on an IGTV live with me last week. You know Karina from the TTC, obviously, because you come in. It's like I plant seeds in the TTC for the 7 months that we were on this journey. And I plant seeds, and then at the end of the TTC, we run our retreat at Shanti Center, and Lila comes in and just kind of, I don't know, this kind of mad blossoming, blooming happens, and you kind of water those seeds and make them blossom and bloom. So we've got those guys here. So I just wanted to say hello. And the Eco Yoga Life, so that is there an Instagram handle for that as well, or is that?
No, not yet. We're getting there, one step at a time.
So say again, is it the EcoYogaLife.tv? Say again.
Yeah, EcoYogaLife.com is the app, the free app. So please come and join. It's free, and there's 200 of us in there, more than 200. And we're just getting started. The schedule actually launches next week. We start with an official schedule, and that will be the first time we're doing that. So it just is so incredibly new, and it's just launching. And so it feels really good to kind of merge my two passions into one. But what I'm excited about is what I've been doing with you for years now is bringing that sense of relationship to nature into healing, which we often can call eco psychology or eco healing. And it's using nature and our relationship with nature as tools and mechanisms to learn the ancient yoga philosophy and then go deeper within ourselves. And so, that's a lovely part that I love to do with the Shanti Center retreat. It's perfect for that.
And I remember that. Yeah, well, you're welcome. Thank you, because you really just bring everything alive for everybody. When they kind of had, you can learn philosophy, and it can be very wordy. It can be very dull. It's very easy to make yoga philosophy dull. But it's important that it isn't dull. Like anything, like anatomy, I try and bring the anatomy alive because having agency over your body is very empowering. Likewise, you can make the philosophy very alive, and that's what we do at Shanti Center. And, just keeping it light and making it fun. But because it's in this natural environment where nature is very, very powerful at Shanti Center, it's kind of easier to understand these concepts. And I know, like, one of the amazing things about one of your lectures, and I'll probably mess this up, but when you're saying we are nature, you are this piece of grass, you are, we're not separate from the world, we are the world. And I think, even in so many senses, we think that we are separate from society, or we think we're separate from politics, or we think we're separate from the world, and we're just these people on the world. But if you look at the earth from space, there's no differentiating the human from the grass. So I think, being there at that point in nature, and you stroking the grass, and I remember, you talk about the rivers, the nadis, and, the elements that make us up as humans. We're made of the powerful nature's elements, and then, there's no separation. So bringing that home, like, why wouldn't we look after the earth? And I know you've taught us a lot about, so much plastic being used in the yoga community, clothes made of plastic, props made of plastic. We're all guilty of having to get this equipment, but, it would be really good to move forward with new ideas of how we can live better and how we can put this philosophy into practice. So that's what you manage to teach us all the time.
Well, one of the fun things that is really unique too is just about 6 weeks ago or so, 18 of us on a Zoom call meditated on a glass of ocean water from the Atlantic Ocean. So Sita went and got a glass of water, and we all meditated on it and put our collective prayer and our collective hearts into that glass of water to see, can we change the pH of the ocean water? Because the carbon in the atmosphere is being absorbed by the ocean, which is adding acidification to the ocean. And we know, just like in our bodies, the more acid we have in our bodies, the more pH is on the acidic level, the more likely we are to develop certain diseases. And so we want an alkaline pH, and the same is true for the ocean water. Well, we had 18 of us change the pH of the water in a Zoom meditation. And so one of the things that we're doing with EcoYogaLife now is trying to piece together a bunch of meditators and yoga practitioners in order to do this on a collective scale and a global scale in order to help the process of Mother Nature to heal. And I think when we're talking about yoga and consciousness, and we know that the yoga scriptures teach us that there is only consciousness, right? And within that is a bunch of elements and particles and frequencies. But ultimately, there is no other, there is no separation. And so when we start to realize that our unique role as practitioners, as stewards of yoga, is to revitalize and potentially heal the planet from dying, she's dying right now. I think, to repopulate biodiversity, to get gardening, to get our hands and fingernails back in soil, I think is just such an empowered place to be. And when we can focus on healing ourselves through the properties of nature, whether that's going out and doing forest bathing, or doing a collective meditation on Zoom for healing the planet, or to, just be more conscious of our consumer and our consumption. You know, these are things that we can do and can and should be doing in this
Yeah.
particular time. It's tough times.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice to hear all that. I want to say to anyone who's there, anyone who's listening, anyone out there, even if you're listening to it or watching it on the IGTV later, do feel free to ask any questions to me or Leela. You know, even we can answer them. Anything that you put on any comments, even on the IGTV, we can answer. So if you have any queries, or if you're thinking, oh, how can I help? What can I do for Mother Nature? How can I make my yoga practice more complete, more earth consciousness practice, then just drop us a line, just comment, or yeah, just ask us.
Or just
So
like it,
Leela, I wanted to
let us
ask,
see the hearts.
or just,
I said, or just
yeah.
press like and let us see the hearts.
Perfect. So do you want to talk about your philosophy teacher training? So as part of our 300 hours, so in case you don't know, I run the Shanti Center Training School, and I run 200-hour yoga and spiritual development teacher training. And Leela runs the philosophy module with me at Shanti Center, the retreat. Sometimes we have to do online retreats when COVID hit, but we run this retreat together. And she basically runs that philosophy module, brings everything home, makes it come alive, as Karina said in one of the comments. And then I have also a 300-hour advanced teacher training. This is advanced teacher training in accessible yoga and spiritual development, which is also, you know, like a 500-hour, because it's open to teachers who already have a 200-hour. So it's an advanced teacher training, and Leela has 2 modules on this. The first is her 20-hour yoga philosophy teacher training for teachers, yoga teachers who would like to bring more philosophy into their teaching. I know a lot of teachers actually that they kind of feel like it's not my place to teach philosophy. You know, they maybe have a little taste of it in the yoga teacher training, but not enough to kind of bring it into the classes, or they don't feel good enough, or they don't feel maybe they're living it enough, or, you know, there's a lot of judgments in the yoga world. You're not yogic enough, you're not doing right, and then maybe you don't want to kind of make it too morally judging, like this is how you should be living. So Leela's written this 20-hour yoga philosophy teacher training program. So you can do it as a standalone module as a teacher, or you can do it as part of the 300-hour. So do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. So just like you were saying, I think a lot of yoga teachers are used to teaching on the mats and used to teaching the asana-based practices, and want to diversify, especially now being online more, to diversify your offerings. And so this is it's also open for seekers, spiritual seekers who are curious, that want to learn more from the lens of yoga philosophy on how the yogis viewed the world. I mean, we know that finally science is starting to catch up, like quantum physics is starting to catch up with what the yogis have been talking about for 5,000 plus years. But basically the 20-hour is online, and it's for yoga seekers and practitioners and teachers to learn how to present this into your daily life and experience. Some will be already pre-recorded content, and then we will shorten it for the weekend module, but it is to help you be able to start offering workshops and be able to start having conversations, and kind of taking that lens and bringing it home into yourself and figuring out, now, how does frequency directly impact the way I think and perceive the world? And what does that frequency, how does that frequency change what it is that I'm perceiving? How do my emotions and my thoughts get governed by my overall frequency and things like that? So that's just one tiny concept to give you an example, but it is in depth, and it's just a beautiful offering to help you to kind of get the baseline teachings that that I feel like seekers and yoga students on the mat are wanting to know about. Like, how do I create a meditative practice, and what is those stages and evolutions of concentration, and how is my concentration correlated to willpower, and what are the different layers to my multidimensionality, and what does each layer's job have to do, and what do these frequencies manifest as? And, you know, so we have gunas and koshas and all these other Sanskrit words, but it's basically the basic components of being human. And so you're empowering your practitioners and students who study with you on how to live the life that they desire, really. And so that's what the yoga philosophy is all about.
Yeah, and I think, you present it in such an embodied way. I think a lot of yoga, 200 hours, depending on what you're trying to bring home, a lot of the 200-hour training programs can only just touch on that. 200 hours is not a very long time, and also it depends what your aspect your school is trying to bring through. So, I think, we all learn, these are the 5 koshas, these are the 8 steps of Patanjali, we can all recite them, we can all tick off, we've taught them. But, this is a way of kind of bringing it home. And I think if you are curious as a yoga teacher and would like to teach kind of beyond asana as well, or, even if you do teach asana, it's like, why are you practicing asana? Why are you teaching asana? Mm-hmm. It can really bring it home in this kind of embodied way. So I'm happy you are doing that. And I want you to answer this question from Karina, please.
Okay,
She
sure.
says, how has last year changed people's attitudes to traveling for retreats, etc.? Have you any advice to support how we can collectively manage to continue learning, but not at the cost of the earth? Oh, it's tricky, isn't it?
I mean, right now it's the cost of the earth, unfortunately. Like just being online is the cost of the planet. We're mining minerals and rare minerals for this process to happen. So I think it's a matter of looking at your footprint and looking at your lifestyle and taking an honest look. I needed 3.5 planets for as much international travel as I was doing to keep and maintain my lifestyle. If everyone was to live my lifestyle, we would need 3.5 planets to just do what I was doing. And I compost, and I use very little single-use plastic or paper, and I do this and I do that, and I'm plant-based. So like I have all of these other components that would reduce my carbon footprint, but flying is tremendously a huge one, a huge impact. And so, I prayed to be grounded, and here I am grounded in the Hudson Valley. Thank God. But I feel like you have to just find what resonates the most with you and stay as local as possible. I think that's going to be kind of the way we move forward. Is it's going to go back to local based education, local learning, and in-person learning, and when you can learn in retreats and feel safe in that environment, I think that's also critical, a critical component. So I don't know if that helps to answer it, but I would just say stay local, like learn from your local folks. There's some amazing people, and then you have online for any other type of education. But there's something to be said about in person. Like there's just something to be said about that 3-dimension and that multi-dimensional experience that I love about it. And I miss it. I miss in person. I miss the hugs. I miss I mean, you guys have been in lockdown now 3 times or something, correct?
Yeah, we've done a lot of lockdowns.
Yeah.
And for my personal life, I run a retreat in Italy. It's impossible not to travel. It's really difficult, and I want to run these 3-dimensional retreats with Lila, so I have to get her over from America, and the flying thing is always a tricky thing. I think I see a lot of thing that not flying is going to be the answer to everything, but also when the world was grounded and no one was flying, it had very little effect on the actual levels. If I'm not mistaken, I was really surprised because I was thinking, no one's flying, no one's going anywhere, yet still the earth is in trouble. So it kind of, it brings it home how there's a bigger story here as well, and big corporations, are churning out lots of stuff that, we can do our part, but we also, sometimes we might need to meet in person and we might need to travel, and you have to just kind of, work it out in your own heart, do your best, because you could say, I have to fly to Italy 3 times a year, and I have to make peace with that. Then there's things I can do in my other life, and people might say, there's always this juggling act, isn't there? So yeah,
Completely.
longer stays. Karina says longer stays, maybe, exactly. And you can, in Europe at least we can try, train travel, and you can
Oh
travel
yeah.
through Europe quite easily. So we have to, make peace with it. But also just not going out ever. I was talking to a friend of mine about if we're never going to fly because flying is going to ruin the world. I remember how much I learned from my experiences of travel, how it opened my mind so much, because being contained in one little community and seeing the world how they see the world, and never kind of venturing out, this kind of concept of traveling the world actually making you able to see the different cultures, and what would have happened if I hadn't been able to travel to India. My whole perception of the world, and quite a lot of what I'm bringing through in the world is come from seeing how other communities live. So, and I do think there is a big need for that as well,
Oh, for
to
sure.
be able to kind of see a different way of life. I mean, we can see that online more now. So obviously,
Yeah,
a
but
lot of
it's
that
different.
we weren't seeing before. Maybe
Yeah.
people will see, young people, but there is this kind of like immerse yourself in another way, and kind of changing, opening up your consciousness. Is like, wow, they've lived like this, and yet they survive. We got told that this is the way, this is what you eat, and this is how you behave, and this is what you wear. Otherwise, all hell will break loose, and you go over to somewhere else, and it's just like they're still alive. They don't do it how we do it. So it's
Yeah.
yeah, it's really difficult juggling act, isn't it?
It is. And I think, I mean, how much I travel and how much I love to travel. And I mean, I've been going to India for years, um and I feel like, it's such an important part of my experience and framework of who I am too. Like just what you were saying. I mean, you and I both have traveled in that way to kind of find ourselves. And I think,
Yeah,
it offers so much incredible space for us, and at the same time, I think that there is this beautiful space of finding our local tribe and finding
yeah,
our people, and kind of recentering ourselves around community. And there
yeah,
is a balance. You have a global community, which we all are a part of. We're doing this globally, for example, and you have this local community, and that engagement is so essential for our well-being too. And like,
and I guess
in
that's a balancing act as well.
it's a
This,
balancing
big
act.
microcosm, micro and macrocosm, near and far,
Yeah.
and yeah.
And
Oh,
it's the same with our nervous system, right? Like one thing that I'm also offering in your course is to talk about the nervous system and stress. I mean, right now, I would think that more than anything is industry, right? We have to work on our relationship with industry and start holding industry accountable for some things. That's on the eco side of things. And on the yoga side of things, it's like we are stressed beyond belief. We see that there is this global mental health crisis right now. We see that we
yeah,
have cancer is 1 in 3, 1 in 2 people. We are having a crisis of the human species as well. As
yeah,
earthlings, as human beings, we are seeing that our artificial lifestyle is not working. Our chasing the dollar to fund industry is not working for a lot of us. And I think that that's the piece that yoga really brings. And I believe it's one of the main reasons it blew up right before we went into COVID. All of a sudden, yoga became a very mainstream thing that people were seeking. And they were seeking it because they were seeing the effective results. You and I both. I mean, yoga helped me heal from epilepsy. It's helped me continue to be a healthy, vibrant person, even at 85 years old. And totally kidding.
really good.
Thanks. I'm the immoral Ottman. But just saying. Um, but no, the point is like, we have stress and we're having a lot of trauma, and more and more and more in this climate crisis, we're going to see, some sort of climate trauma that's going to also be there. Displacement of homes, burning of homes. My family had to evacuate their home from a fire. Like we're gonna see this. And so yoga helps so much with neuroplasticity, with the ability to get our nervous systems in the space that provides for rest and recovery. And, you know, what does that look like? And how can we help ourselves and our community members and our like collective community? How do we help them to retrain their nervous system in a new way? How do we help them process the trauma we all went through globally in the last year?
Yeah.
How do we get back to some sort of semblance of a touch-based society? How do we get back into a place of feeling comfortable and safe in the atmosphere? I mean, people outside, I'm still seeing here, people outside walking alone on the sidewalk is still wearing a mask out of fear that they're going to catch a virus walking on a sidewalk outside. I mean, these are things that is being implanted in our psyche. And I think, you know, even more than ever, yoga's role is really to help us process all that, to move through that, and to come up with innovative ways to move forward in that.
And I'm really looking forward to this. This is a really beautiful piece of the advanced training, this the stress and the nervous system. It's kind of like a yoga therapy piece of this. It's actually only open to the people on the ATTC, whereas the other modules, there's a lot of modules, including the philosophy TTC, which is it's open as a standalone for any yoga teacher. But this little piece is Lila's offering, I think, the yoga therapy, and you know, we'll obviously have philosophy woven in, and it will have eco woven in. But this trauma-based nervous system, neuroplasticity, this kind of how to heal a global trauma. Because I think you always say yoga is the medicine. Yoga is the medicine, and so it's, you know, we have to move beyond teaching people, although it might be fun for us to learn fancy gymnastic things to do with our bodies. And even at a certain time in your life, it might be really fulfilling. It might be a way of, you know, getting that prana and feeling that kind of sense of vitality. But moving forward in a broken world, as it were, we're going to need to be, if we're really using yoga as the medicine, it needs to be the medicine, which is going to be a lot of nervous system, a lot of mindfulness, just kind of healing global trauma, rather than kind of keeping people like fast-paced, do more yoga, do this, it's bad, do this, you know, which is probably already we've had enough. So it is important to move forward as a yoga teacher to bring the right medicine at the right time to the right people. So and also this is why the accessible nature of this course, of everything that I'm running, is that actually I want to widen the environment I can teach yoga in. I want to teach yoga to more people. I don't want to fine tune it so that I'm an advanced teacher teaching very advanced postures. I want advanced yoga teaching to be able to reach more people, to do more, to give more of the medicine, which means I, as a yoga teacher, need to continually up my game, keep learning, keep up to date with latest, you know, science and yoga philosophy and, you know, fascia and, you know, the climate crisis. We need to kind of keep working together as a community. So the other thing is that this is a community. The Shanti Center course creates this community where you can be in touch with Lila, you can be in touch with our other teachers who have all these other modules, and then you can keep feeding off ideas, as everyone's got Insta pages, everyone's got Facebook groups. So it becomes this growing community of keeping our eyes on the game. So
that's why I love working with you so much. Really, we're so much on the same page with that. And I think, you know, as a team, we bring a lightness and fun and a sense of craziness sometimes, which is good. And lots of
I don't know what you're talking about.
lots of laughter for sure. So, but yeah, I'm so feeling like, you know, each of us, as you become a 300-hour teacher, you're learning what your medicine is that you want to offer. Through the lens of yoga being an overarching medicine, right? You get to refine and like, okay, that's actually, I think, the direction in which I want to go. And a 300-hour training as comprehensive as the one you're offering, with so many nuances of modules of like womb health and womb care and special needs and all of these beautiful components, the accessible piece that's in there is just so it's such a comprehensive training that it's really an honor for me to be involved in it and to bring the like kind of eco piece and the yoga philosophy piece. So thanks for having me.
You're welcome. You're so welcome. So I think we should probably wrap it up there so that our fans don't get really bored. We'll keep them hanging on for next time. so, so I want to say thank you, and it's so nice to see you online, and thank you for wearing your brand colours today.
You're welcome.
Yeah, so much love to you over there, and I'm so happy I met you. And yeah, anyone who has joined, thank you so much for joining. It's really always nice not to speak to your own face all the time. And even if you're watching this on IGTV later, thank you that you got this far without turning us off. And we'll see you all. If you want more information about the AGGC, which contains all the modules, Lila's modules, everyone else's modules, then just go to the link on my bio and you'll see it all. And check out EcoYogaLife.
Because it's a great training.
Thank you, darling.
Thanks,
so I will say goodbye. See you soon. Lots of love.
See you soon.
Bye.